Bloomberg reports that Genesis Global Capital is laying the groundwork for a bankruptcy filing that could come as soon as this week. Genesis and CoinDesk share the same parent company, DCG. Joining us now to discuss is a very special treat because it's Wednesday, but here he is, CoinDesk Managing Editor of Tech and Protocols, Brad Cowan. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Lawrence. Happy Wednesday.
Brad, happy Wednesday to you. And it's as you know, it was a short week, but boy, we're jam-packing everything, all the news into these 4 days. Just give us an update on the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust discount. You know, I saw it was something in the high 30%. Where are we now? What's going on here?
Well, you know, obviously, Lawrence, this is something that people are speculating on, and it's kind of like a sideshow, you know, to what's happening with Bitcoin and also what's happening with the Genesis saga. But, you know, people, again, it's like a way of betting on all the various scenarios that might play out. And the speculation had been up through last week that some of the events involving Genesis and its financial difficulties might run up through the parent company and ultimately affect Grayscale, which is also owned by Digital Currency Group. And maybe the fund would get wound down, and they're also facing pressure from some shareholders to allow redemptions, which would get them which will allow them to access the Bitcoin in the fund, which would mean they'd get it basically at, you know, the value of the Bitcoin. And so you saw that discount narrowing. And interestingly, you know, over the past week, as Bitcoin has been rallying, you know, the share price has been kind of staying behind a little bit. So you have seen that that discount widen out a little bit. You know, I think there's a lot that just people don't know. You know, there's all these reports coming out, and some of them are probably, you know, legit or on, but it's kind of hard to figure out yet what are the implications for Grayscale.
And to be sure, I mean, there are a lot of reasons why we would see this kind of a discount. For one, for instance, for a long time, it was a bet on whether or not the SEC would approve an ETF. It seemed to be one of the narratives as to what at the time it was a premium. Now it's a discount. It indicates that at the very least, we kind of think that the SEC is in no rush to approve a cash or a spot ETF. A spot Bitcoin ETF anytime soon. The futures ETFs is a different animal, and of course you have the CFTC regulating it, but it's also a bet on Grayscale, correct? I mean, this is a bet on whether or not Grayscale is going to survive and not be affected by the overall hassles and nightmare that we're seeing in sister company Genesis and parent company DCG, correct?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, you know, I think people are you know, they're not stupid. You know, it is Digital Currency Group. It all kind of rolls up there. You know, and to your point, you know, it's not the Genesis, you know, is suddenly in the crosshairs of the SEC as a result of this suit that they filed related to the Gemini Earn program, which is another reason why Genesis is now, you know, under the gun, is because it can't give that money back. You know, ostensibly Gemini Earn, those customers are among the creditors here who are going to be, you know, facing whatever sort of, you know, protection if Genesis is seeking that from a court. But yeah, you know, there's discussion in the block report. You mentioned at the top of the segment, Lawrence, that you know, there's DCG as a part of this settlement. You know, if there's a cash, if it reads kind of like an out of court settlement, but with the judge's stamp of approval as the pre-pack bankruptcy. You know, so and that does involve, as you said, you know, at least according to the block report, involves some DCG equity and Anyway, my dog's-
I think your dogs are kind of nervous about the Winklevi owning part of DCG and therefore becoming your boss here at CoinDesk. There's I kind of want to move to the macro story a little bit here because the market is expecting the Fed will raise the Fed funds rate by about 25 basis points in February. Not about, but 25 basis points in February is kind of where things seem to be going. But St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard, he's suggesting it might be another 50 basis points. Do you think this is having any impact at all on Bitcoin? And do you see this potentially as ending the rally that we saw up to 21?
Yes, Lawrence. The Fed meeting is always, a fact. This sort of what's happening with monetary policy is a constant factor in the market. I think the latest speculation is that the inflation is coming down and the economy is slowing a little bit, but they're looking at a soft landing. And the 25 basis points it might or might not be the Fed's last hike. Either way, the Fed's slowing down the pace of monetary policy tightening. So it is, if anything, that's becoming more of a headwind, and that has definitely been a factor. I would imagine in the rally that we saw last week and up through kind of today, where we're sort of ticking off a little bit.
We're seeing also some action in the equity markets and crypto-related stocks, and it runs the gamut. So you have Coinbase, an exchange that's down about 4% right now. Marathon Digital, a miner, down 15%. And MicroStrategy, which, let's face it, has been playing the game of fake ETF of Bitcoin because of all the Bitcoin it owns. It's down 7%. What are we learning from all of this, from this sell-off, not just in crypto, but in crypto-related stocks? Is it directly related to the current price of crypto, or is there something else that the market is telling us?
One clear takeaway from this latest Genesis news is that this industry is still suffering from, the big meltdown of last year, and there's a lot more pain to be processed. There's more that's becoming public. It's just a little bit at a time. It's a drip, drip, drip. And, I think we came into 2023 and people thought, oh, okay, it's a new year, that's over. And this is kind of a wake up call that, there's a lot that just hasn't hit the tape yet.
Well, if the person in charge of the tape, one of the people in charge of the tape, that's you, Brad Cowan. Thank you so much for coming on and talking a little bit about what's happening today in the market and with DCG and Grayscale and Genesis and shedding light to this. So thank you very much. That's CoinDesk Managing Editor of Tech and Protocols, Brad Cowan.